Hi, I'm David Burgeron. I'm the co-owner with my wife Mary from the Burgeron Estate Winery and Cider Company. We are the owners of Coal Point Cider, which is located on Highway 33 on the south side, 20 minutes from Kingston and 6 minutes from the Glenora Ferry heading to Picton. And we're in the Lennox and Addington County. So yeah, my keg fridge, where the pipe goes in, there was a leak over the week, and all my argon's gone, or my nitrogen to push it through. So I have CO2.
Now you're gonna have to get that fixed.
So I just happen to have. I sold out of bottles, but I just seen one of these the other day, and I better keep that away from her.
Thank you.
So it's called Coal Point Cider, and a bit of the history is right now I've just started my own apple orchard, but when you drive past us, there's like probably 10,000 apple trees on the other side of that fence line, and the guy was ripping them out. And I always wanted to do cider when I opened up, but I just got enough on my plate. But when he started taking them out, I thought, I better jump on it. So I went over and talked to him, and we started using local apples, whatever. The trees are like 50, 60 years old, and so we used like Mac IDA, Gold Delicious, Golden Russets, and we did a soft blend. And then right down on the lake here, we're on the Bay of Quinte, and that's Prince Edward County, so we're right on the shoreline of Adolphus Reach. And in that point, it's called Coal Point. And the history behind it is there was this gentleman named Daniel Cole who was a spy for England in the 1780s, and he gets caught by the Americans, and they go to hang him. Day of hanging, the rope breaks, he runs like hell, and escapes. They shoot at him, miss, and he ends up landing in 1782 over here in Adolphus Town with all the loyalists, and he, because of his statue, and he got first pick, so he picked a beautiful spot on the lake with a point, and where the apples are was Daniel Cole's, was the first owner of that land. And so then we found a gentleman who was the 8th descendant of Daniel Cole. His son's named Daniel Cole over in the county, and he had the Bible from the original Daniel Cole. And he let us take a picture of the border of the inside, and this is the outside of the Bible. So it didn't have Holy Bible on the top, it had it on the spine. And then we found a map in Peterborough, natural resource, with all the deed owners, and under the D is Daniel Cole's signature. So we came up with the Coal Point, and then when you go to the ferry, the very last tombstone on the left-hand side is Daniel Cole. So it's pretty cool when you do it. You stop in, have a pizza and cider, and then you drive by. I get chills sometimes when I look at it.
A very neat, interesting local.
Yeah, it's very local. So John A. McDonald is a boy, he lived right around the corner here. Everybody knows about Kingston and Napanee and Picton, but he lived just over by Dorland, which is north of Adolphus Town. So yeah, and as I came up with this dry cider, I wanted to do an English style. Another variety I have is I do a scrumpy. Not too many scrumpies in Ontario. Everybody's trying to keep it clean and whatever. But the original cider is a scrumpy with, just like a fine wine, you have sediment from the fermentation and you leave some of that. And that's what a scrumpy is with the pectin from the apple. And it sells out every year. So I'm sold out already. The new batch will be here in August, September from last year. I age my cider a little bit longer. And as a winemaker, I ferment it right down to zero and then recarbonate.
Very nice. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about the land that we're on here,
yeah.
What you've got set up?
Yeah, I've got 52 acres. We started with the winery. We bought it in 2002. We planted 10 acres, 03, 04, and 05. It took us 3 years to plant it. And we have Pinot Noir and Gamay for reds. We do a Riesling, Vidal, Gewürztraminer for whites. And we opened in 07. We were the first winery on the Kingston side of South Fredericksburg, Napanee side in Adolphus Reach. And now there's 2 more wineries opening up in 2020. A Chinese corporation has come in and bought. There's McKinnon Brothers Brewery. There's Cider we just talked about beside them. And 33 vines. So there'll be 7 of us in this region. And I figured about 10 years, but it's going to be about 12, 13, 15 years. And then our region is set up. And then we'll really increase our marketing and finalize it. So I apprenticed from a winemaker over in Rose Hall Run. Dan Sullivan, who was around third, fourth winery open, makes one of the best Chardonnays in the region. So I learned the winemaking skill after the viticulture, and then we opened in September of 2007, added the pizzeria. My wife's family's from Italy, and so we had her mom, Nona, come in, and we grow our own oregano, our own basil, our own rosemary, our own gardens in the summer. And we have things like focaccia bread, and we do potato pizzas and prosciutto and tomato. And I love it. I work for the Ontario government as well as a project consultant, and I retire next year. So we being more the tortoise and the hare, we're the tortoise for sure. And but when I retire next year, we're upscaling it. And we have an Airbnb here as well that's opening up in June for one bedroom. And we're right on the Loyalist Parkway here. We're 25 minutes from Kingston, 6 minutes from the ferry to Prince Edward County. So it's an ideal location. We have a heavy clay soil base, which gives you better reds, and for some reason we have a stronger pepper note in our soil, in our wines, and as well as the apples. They're a little bit different flavor than they are from the county. And we face south. We've got the lake in front of us. The Bay of Quinte, when we did our research, because we were looking in the county the first 2 years we did all our research, and it's 130 feet deep out in front of us, so it doesn't freeze till almost the middle of January. Some years it doesn't. You go down to the ferry and it gets really shallow and it freezes there every year. So we got the warm terroir microclimate off the lake, and then the escarpment from the county acts almost like Niagara with their escarpment and reflects some of the wind, and we get a nice current in here and cool winds in the evening, which help the flavors for your wine. And in the fall, when the frost comes, then we harvest our apples and press them right after the wine season.
Pretty ideal all around, it sounds like it. And if the area is sort of maturing with more offerings, I guess that, as you said, sort of the next step is the marketing. Do you find right now there's crossover with people using the ferry back and forth?
Yeah. Yep. June 1st is kind of our start of our season, and usually it's May 24th, but the ferry goes from one ferry every 30 minutes to every 15 minutes. This year, there's tons of investment of new ferry over to Amherst Island that's increasing. They're expanding the highway up by Bath. We have a cyclist lane on the Loyalist Parkway right from Kingston all the way over to Trenton, where there's bike lanes on either side of the highway, and that's increased. And so it's all coming together in about another 2 years, which is prime time for us to start what I call my second phase of this endeavor. Is more what it's like.
And it sounds like you have a little bit more time with it as well, but as always, and such a large farm area here, it takes a lot of time in general to produce what you're doing. You said on the cider side of things, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started into cider?
I got started into cider. I had a friend who loves cider, and he stopped by all the time, and he was giving me cider. And the more I had it, like good dry cider, I realized a lot of the ciders are really sweet out there, and there's a client for that. But I was going for a little bit more mature palate, and the more English ciders I tried and dry, I really enjoyed that. So as a winemaker, very first year I did, instead of a beer fridge, I did a cider fridge, and I just handed cider out for the year because I didn't know if anybody would even like it that dry. It's right down to zero. And 8 out of 10 people wanted the cider right then. We did 300 liters that we just gave away that year, and then we were limited to how much juice we can get locally, which is why we planted our own orchard, and now we've gone to a different source for this year to increase up to 3,000 liters this year from the 1,000 liters. So we're tripling our production, and within 3 years we're hoping to get up to 10,000 liters. So yeah.
The production seems to be one of the standard challenges of keeping up to demand. That's a good thing still?
Yeah, it's good, and well, it's interesting timing because the cider industry has really climbed in the last 5, 6 years, and a lot of the old apple orchards were ripped out 10 years, 15 years ago because there was a surplus, especially when Chinese apples, and now we can eat apples all year round, but 20, 30 years ago it was seasonal, just like strawberries. Now we can get our access to fruit every day, 365 days a year. So, and a lot of the orchards that stopped being planted are now a little bit too old right? And so they're ripping them out. One, there wasn't as many people apple picking, and two, there was too much competition to sell it to grocery stores and that through the day. So we're planning a new orchard. I just talked to someone yesterday up in Ottawa, and there's an investment there where a guy is planting 20,000 trees in his first year. He did this is his second orchard, apple orchard. He did another one 7-8 years ago, and that one sold out too. So in the fall we do a pumpkin hunt, tractor ride, hot chocolate, and pizza. Now we'll add the apple picking and all that. But the idea really for the majority, 60% of the apples we're planting will be for our cider. And we're using Canadian Eastern Ontario varieties. We're bringing a couple cider varieties, but my cider was based on what this region has produced in history. And it's a fantastic product. People are loving it, so we just need to make some more.
It's got quite the story, as we already heard. Are there plans to expand beyond it, or just sort of ramp up production?
No, we've got, so when I bought this property, I thought it'd be like 40 acres of grapes and 10 acres of apples. We've actually reversed it. We're only probably going to do about 20 acres of grapes and 30 acres of apples. So we're also doing high density planting. So we're taking some of the wine viticulture practices of, pruning the trees so they're higher density. Closer, we're doing an 8x8 instead of the old 12x12, and I don't even know how many apples, but it'll be almost like 50,000-60,000 apple trees. So yeah, nothing but moving forward for the next 20 years. Hi, just give me one second. Hi, folks. How are you? I'm just doing a quick podcast here with these folks, but there is a lady in there. So just go and talk to her. We have some wine tastings. We do pizza. Are we looking for just some wine or some?
Just stopping in.
Stopping in? Okay, she'll show you around and then I'll be in a second. Okay.
We've obviously production is a challenge to meet the demand that you have. What would you say has been some other major challenges?
Well, production and getting local apples. I'm surrounded by two apples. There's an apple orchard to the east and the west of me, and neither one of them want to sell me more apples. So planting locally, expanding. We have a certain flavor, and when you get into wine, it's a little bit more. And the Ontario palate with beer, wine, and cider is a lot more educated than it was 20 years ago. And people just, especially with the microbreweries and the cider, they want to try different things, and they want to see what does this region produce. Some places are buying fruit, from Niagara and Toronto and whatever for the wines and all that. But really, the customer wants a good product, a good experience, but they want to try local. What does this? If I go to Burgundy, France, to try a nice Pinot Noir, I want to try theirs. And so we have Canada and especially Eastern Ontario is considered some of the top places to grow apples. The flavor, just like maple syrup. And so it's really what we want to try to do is get as much local fruit from Eastern Ontario as we can.
And where would you get more information about your offerings and how to get here, and maybe where you could stay soon?
Yeah, we're like our Airbnb, and we do pop-up diners here. So I know how to make homemade pasta and pizza and soup and all that. So Father's Day we're doing a 4-course meal with antipasta, mushroom ravioli, pizza, and pecan pie with 4 wines for $59.95. And you can go on to BurgeronEstateWinery.ca and find out all about those products. And every month we have an event. Actually, tomorrow we're doing Experience a Vineyard. So this year I started once a month. You can come out and work for me for 4 hours a day. And I have some homemade donuts and coffee in the morning. We do a free lunch, free wine and cider. You work a couple more hours, and whatever variety you're working on, you sign up on our list, and next year you get a bottle of wine, or you can take one of the current ones this year.
A very neat experience on its own. So
really good turnout for tomorrow, as long as the weather turns out. I think we have 15 people tomorrow coming, so yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I'll let you get in there. I know there's a couple people waiting to be serviced, and again, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Let's try a cider. So this is actually a 3-year-old cider from the apples next door.
Very dry, as you
Different.
said.
Dry.
Yeah, it's got definitely some.
That peppery note, yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
unique.
Pepper. Yep.
That is wow.
Yeah. almost caramelized to it.
Yeah.
And that's the aging process. So a lot of people are drinking ciders really young. You just missed last year. I finished a 4-year-old cider. So I'm aging them almost 2 years before I release them. I'm not doing the 6-9 month like a beer. That's more fruity, and you can do that product, but I'm finding really, same with Ontario wines and all that, we're just drinking them, for my palate, a little bit young. And there's some great flavor in there. Like we've had it out while we're talking and all that, but you throw some icing on that, have it with cheese or something fatty with the acid. I love it.
It's got a really neat, the aftertaste is something I don't think I've had
never
before.
experienced
Yeah.
it.
No, it's very neat. I like
It stays on your palate long, like
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah, it's
there.
very
It's almost
long
like a
lingering.
wine, opposed to, and like I say, not a lot of ice, but just 1 or 2 ice cubes to keep it fresh, or chilled is what I like.
Yeah. You almost get more flavor in the aftertaste than you do in actually the sip.
Yeah,
Like, it
I'm
almost-
still getting like
It
that.
almost
I just had the
builds
one
and you
big
can
sip.
really taste it. And, yeah.
When I first drank this, I liked it so much that I drank it for almost 4 months every day. And I don't know if you've ever had too much garlic or food and it starts coming out in your pores, but it was coming out as rotten apple. And my wife's like, "What's that smell?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, I've been smelling it for a long time." And I said, "It's not BO. I have a shower every day and deodorant." She comes and come here. And so I smell it, and it was the apple coming out from the amount of ciders. She said, "You got to get off that cider." Like I was drinking quite a bit of it. But yeah, I have this in the summer. It's my summer drink. I like beer and I like whiskey and all that, but cider is my summer drink now. But you have to monitor your drinking because it does seem to affect our blood a little bit more. And it's only 6% alcohol, but it just seems like 1 or 2 ciders, like three beers. So it does. It is something you have to watch when you drink.
Definitely.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And it's a lot lighter carbonized. I find, you guys are young, but I found around 40, your digestive system, like, I could drink lots of beer before and it never affected me, but if I have 2 or 3 beers, I feel a little bloated and it's just not comfortable. So I did a lighter carbonization on this, which still to give that little bit of kick, but yeah, I like that.